Well, good day, viewers. Today we have a 2015 Ford Focus. It's got 128,000 kilometers on it. According to the oil change sticker, it was due 2 years ago, but I think they had it changed and never had the sticker replaced. It's got a noisy wheel bearing, so we're gonna, and this is a standard, so I have to pause recording until we get to speed. Sounds like it's from the right front. Let's see when I make a left turn. Could be both front, but it's definitely from the front by the sounds of it. We'll bring it back to the shop, put it on noise. So the first thing you want to do is check for play in any of the wheel bearings. And I've already checked both front wheel bearings, don't feel like they have any play. But to find the noise, I like to grab the coil spring with the two coils and squeeze them and then spin the tire, and you can feel and sometimes hear the vibration in the coil spring. This side sounds smooth. Let's check the other side. So on this side, again, there's no play in the wheel bearing, but if I grab the coil spring and spin it, you don't need to grab the coil spring, you can hear this one. It feels real rough in the spring. I'm going to check the rear as well. So these are pressed in wheel bearings. By the looks of it, there's no bolts holding the bearing assembly in, so have to partially remove the knuckle. Checking the stabilizer links while we're here, because I thought I heard a rattling on the road. The lower link is gone on this side here. So I always change them in pairs. Looking at the brake pads, it looks like there's adequate brake pad. They've been changed already, so because we have to take the brakes apart on this side. Let's have a look underneath here and see if there's any other concerns. Rear stabilizer. The rear bearings feel smooth. I think the rear are hub and bearing assembly. They look like they're bolted in with E-drive bolts. Yeah. But the front is pressed in. Well, we'll get some parts. So there's the bearing. It's a pressed in bearing. FW122 is the SKF number. I talked with the customer. The customer said they had the bearings on both fronts changed a year ago, and the part's still under warranty, but obviously the labor's not. And the shop that did it can't do it for a few days, so she's wanting me to do it and retain the parts, so she's going to try to put in a parts warranty claim for it. Might not need the snap ring if it was just changed, but we'll have a look. I notice it's missing the hubcap on the right front. There's one on the left front, but the right front hubcap is missing. Oh well, let's get started. So remove the brake caliper assembly. The brake pads are in excellent shape on this thing. There's like 80% remaining. So take the caliper off as an assembly by removing the two 18 mil head bolts. And we're going to have to undo this pinch bolt at the bottom here to disconnect the lower ball joint. Because we have to remove the axle shaft from the bearing. I'm going to try to do it on the vehicle. So the axle nut is 32 mil and the pinch bolt nut is 18 mil, and we're going to pry out this lower ball joint. CV shaft is not seized in there obviously because it was just a part, well, within a year anyway, so according to the customer. So I put a piece of chain around the lower control arm. And pull it out like so. Don't lose this. And watch you don't cut the boot on the CV, on the lower ball joint. block that down there. Let's see if I can block that somehow. Yeah, I can put a block of wood underneath here. Underneath the stabilizer link. Beautiful. Turn the steering. Make sure that the brake hose and that is not stretched to the end of its travel. Okay. Once that's out of the way, wow, that's pretty rough. The snap ring is on the outside. This has got a speed sensor reluctor built into the wheel bearing. So now we have to pull the flange out. We'll get set up for that. So we got the OTC hub grappler set up here. And I'm going to try to use it without a backing wrench first. Got to go the right direction. Okay, so there's the flange out. Snap ring's on the outside, so we're lucky. It does look in good shape. So we might not need the snap ring. Now we have to be conscious of the wheel speed sensor that's in here. Normally you're supposed to remove the wheel speed sensor from the steering knuckle, but it's not going to come out likely without breaking, so we're going to try to carefully work around it. This is what I use to remove the snap ring. It's a Ultra Pro tool. The number's worn off of it, but it works pretty good. And this snap ring came out pretty easy because it's been out recently. So there's the OTC tool to pull the bearing out. And as I said, you have to be conscious of the wheel speed sensor up there. Put a smaller race so it's pulling on it and doesn't touch that. Also, don't allow this to turn in case it's off center so that it doesn't damage the speed sensor. You see the wheel bearing has a speed sensor reluctor magnetic ring on the inboard side. That must go towards the speed sensor, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so let's see if this is going to work. Impact gun to go in the right direction. Wow, that's tight. Wow, that bearing is tight in there. Put some oil on this. Man, that's tight. I don't even think it started to move. So I'm going to see if this is going to take it out now. I put some gear oil on here. Wow, that's tight. That might come compressor build up with some air. I don't think I've had one this tight in a long time. Wow, that was tight. So now we need to clean the snap ring groove out. I'll use a zip or a little scraper here to clean the groove out. Make sure that there's nothing in the back here. You can see that speed sensor up there. You have to be careful not to damage that. We'll clean this up and get ready to press the new bearing in. So I like to put it back in by hand, because that way you can feel if it's binding, and you can also watch to make sure it's square. Whew. Okay, we're going to clean up this snap ring and reinstall it. So there's the snap ring reinstalled. I reused the original because it was just replaced. It wasn't fatigued. Now we have to press this inner race off. Normally there's a lip here, but this one seems pretty flush. Maybe we'll try and grab it with the split flange right on this seal surface here. We'll give it a shot. So here's the setup in the press to press the flange off. Yes, I know I don't have a guard, but I do have safety squint. It's not that tight. They used a zip cut blade on it last time and split it. I don't like doing that. So make sure you use a backing washer on the small part of the internal bearing in there. And I like to press the flange back in by hand. Again, that way you can feel if it's binding. That's it. Nice and smooth. Okay. I'm going to put some anti-seize on the splines, clean out the ball joint stud hole, and reinstall the axle shaft. So the torque on this axle nut is 59 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. The torque on the pinch bolt is 35 foot-pounds. And the anchor bolts for the brake caliper bracket are 129 foot-pounds, which seems awful high, but I checked two sources, so 59 foot-pounds. I might have over-tightened it already by... I just put something between the caliper, like so. And then we got to mark it and turn it a quarter turn. So my initial 59 foot-pounds was at 12 o'clock here, and then I marked it at 3 o'clock and turned the nut an extra 90 degrees. So we're ready to put the wheel back on, but first I got to change the stabilizer links on this thing. The our left side one is worn out on the bottom, so we're going to put a pair of links in it. But that's pretty much it, other than reinstalling the tire. Thanks for watching.